the Open Source AI Summit. You've been a speaker many times at this point. Probably
every time.
Every time we're in stuff, like we collaborate. So let's give it a round of applause for Davide.
Thank you. Yeah, so as Erika said, I lead the AI team at the Ethereum Foundation. This talk is actually nothing Ethereum explicitly, although like if you read between the lines, you'll probably see the connection. It's mainly around open source AI, and like I named it like funnily SOS AI. Stands for like secure open source AI, right? Like in the sense like this is really what's going to like make personal AI experience possible. Like it's really what like we need to like use like open source models at scale. I'll share like a few thoughts and then like a few thought experiments as well. So first, like looking at where the state of open source AI is, like over the past few years, like open source models like are maybe like 6 to 8 months behind closed source model in terms of like capabilities around like different dimensions, like chat, coding, reasoning, etc. Usually is like mainly open source models coming from China, but there is also like a few companies like around the world in Europe. And then like the ecosystem itself, like everything around these models is growing, right? Like open source like fine-tuning libraries, evaluation, distillation, and now like recently agent frameworks. I think everyone before me mentioned OpenClaw in every single talk. So I'm also like, let's say, paying my respects to the project. But highlighting that one thing is actually interesting with this project, right? It essentially shows that, okay, the next wave of AI applications is not just models, is not just chatbots, is like an entire system that acts on your behalf, right? This is kind of a step change, like similar to others before. And I guess we'll see more of these like every time like there is a jump in model capabilities. I feel this was like enabled by like the new coding abilities of the latest generation of models. But the reality is that like, okay, if now we are going into like autonomous systems that act, like then we need like some new infrastructure that is gonna pop up. So like tools, skill registries, these things, I feel that it's where like blockchain can actually like play an important role as like a coordination substrate. So like on Ethereum, we have like this ERC 8004, which is for like essentially agent, but really like any API discovery and trust. And then there is also like the X402 standard. Like actually I was looking at what are the main skills and like extensions of OpenClaw, and like in the top 5 there is at least 2 that use like X402, like pay per call to get their AI tokens. So it seems that there is something interesting there in terms of market fit. But then also as most of Ilya's talk identified, like we have like a lot of benefits from like using this open source model, like not only in OpenClaw but in general. But then there is also a lot of risks, right? So the benefit is that you have privacy, you have local control, you have portability of your memory, but then on the flip side, like the problem is that like when you use an open source model, like you are not very maybe let me say it this way. When you use a closed source model, there is like it's an entire system with defense in depth, right? There is like a classifier at input. The model is like pre-trained and post-trained, like on various like prompt injection data, and then there is also like output filter. Like open source, usually like you just like deploy the model, or like the provider just deploys like a model, and you don't have all these assurances. So like that part is the part that it's kind of like security is perhaps lacking, and like now that people are starting to use this at scale, also because they're cheaper, right? It's kind of like one of the most important things to work on. So I'm summarizing like kind of like the 2 or 3 like security direction that I think are very important here. The first one is like security in execution control. So like since agents generate action dynamically, like what we want actually, like we're working a lot on these registries on Ethereum where like agents can also discover different tools dynamically. So here, like essentially, like you don't have like a code path that you can test before deploying the agent. Like you need like a continuous security during execution. The second one is like actually like harden the input surface, maybe like sometimes reduce the input surface so that it's harder to attack this model with like malicious prompt or like code injection. And then the third one is like essentially like more also related to like auditability and verifying different parts of the action surface and maybe even like implementing policy, which was also like one of the cool features of Ironclaw. I think it's a good direction. Yeah, so then essentially like this is like why security is important, right? The next point I want to make is like what does security enable, right? So essentially like there is two areas. Like for the individual personal perspective is like, okay, if you are using a secure open source AI, then you can have like a personal agent that like you fully trust, or like at least you have a big trust surface. And this is great, right? Like you don't need to like surrender control or like memory your data to someone else. And also like you're probably less exposed to bias. And then like there is an interesting thing that like if every one of us starts using these like personal AIs, personal representative, there is also like an important aggregate effect at the societal level, right? So I want to talk about three things, like what's the economic impact of like using this system, like social impact, and then also like kind of impact on power. So on the economic side, I think it's straightforward. So like if we use like secure open source versus like this closed source system, like there is a lot of portability. Like we have our own data, so we can switch provider. So like the prices will go down of AI, the prices of AI services. And then like the other thing is that we can have like someone that like represents us in like negotiation, like procuring new services. So like the economy itself is more efficient, so output should go up. The other important thing is like the political outcome of this. I think like we are still not seeing this because we are still mainly using chatbots and coding agents. But like as we start using like these systems for like more kind of like mission critical outcomes in society, then like all the providers are central, or like most of the providers, like the vast majority of like providers we use are centralized, and essentially like there is this imbalance where like as users we kind of lose control and power, and this can be like order of magnitude bigger than what we experience today with like social media, etc. So like the idea here is that with secure open source AI, we can have user can retain some power, so your agent is going to work for you. There is portability. It's harder to like influence everyone's opinion. And then finally, the cool thing is that if you have this representative, they can engage in like new forms of like collective action and cooperation, right? So essentially, the example here is like you've seen like on Maltbook, there is millions of agents that for now are just yapping, right? But I think this type of product, like the agent network, is kind of like the new type of products that people will build. So like you launch an agent or a game, and all of a sudden you have like millions of autonomous agents around the world that could potentially join. And like there is kind of, I think, a vast space, a vast design space. Like I'm really hoping that like people start building these and like use Ethereum both for like coordination layer, but also like some of these networks will be like economic networks, so they need to send value to each other. Yeah, and the last point on this kind of social outcomes is it's kind of important like for like kind of like the organization in society, right? Like if we have privacy with these personal agents, then this is kind of like an initial step towards like having like more self-sovereignty and more meaningful interaction. And then like another outcome is like reduced manipulation. So like we've already seen like big problems with like disinformation in social media. Now we are going to our AIs for even more deeper questions. So I feel this part is like very important. And then finally, like if we all use the same model, like everyone uses like GPT 5.2 to like ask for opinions or even like looking for news, probably we'll have a society that is kind of uniform, which is kind of bad for many different reasons. So I want to close like in the last few minutes with a thought experiment. This is like, I call it the personal representation protocol. This is something that maybe like people that have thought about governance, blockchain governance, maybe they have in the back of their mind. I feel that like this is one type of like agent network and kind of an important one. So I'm just like throwing this idea there. I hope that people build things similar to this. But the idea is like, how do we scale governance without delegating power like to individual power to someone else? And basically like, we can have a protocol where like there is humans, like as a human I set some values that I give to my agent, and then I have final authority on all the impactful and high stakes decisions that this agent can make. I have my personal agents that basically does all the work, like reads, debates, deliberates, and votes. And then there is a governance system, which is the mechanism, like basically like the part of the network that needs to be encoded, like the rules of engagement of these agents. And then like some communication layer between them. And so the idea is like, first I set it up, right? So I give a constitution to my personal agent. Like people call it soul now, but it's really like constitutional AI. I give it like, what are my priorities, what are my preferences. Maybe I feed it a lot of data privately, and so like it knows me very well. Then it learns my preferences so that it can represent me. And then like essentially like now I gave my agent some capabilities that can use and go out in the world to represent me autonomously. So, but it needs to stay within the policy that I give. And so like, imagine that we could use this for like almost like any governance decision, maybe like even in like specific systems that we use, but even in public governance, right? Like this could potentially replace like the representative democracy that we have. And the idea would be like anyone can post a proposal. Like when there is a proposal dropped, like first is your personal agent that engages, reads, summarize, debates, deliberates, and then essentially like if there is like high certainty on what you would vote and like low stakes, it votes directly. Otherwise, like it sends you like a summary that you can read in less than 1 minute and then like decide what to do. And finally, like the agent will cast a vote on your behalf, which is recorded. And so essentially we can scale like human participation, but like without overwhelming like everyone cognitive bandwidth, basically. So I feel that like this type of protocol actually like necessarily requires both like some open source local model that like you fully control and security, right? Like there is many things that can go wrong, like beyond like the generic security aspect I mentioned before. Yeah. One is execution control and like agent security, which is the same. But then like in this system, like you can have like many different bots or like people trying to attack and like change opinions of others. So for this you can use like ZK membership, like private votes, but like authenticating that there is a real voter behind that agent, like maybe like the self protocol is a solution here. And then like the other thing is that like even if you solve Sybil and like you have some privacy, then like people could still lie. Like other agents could still lie and like essentially persuade, like trying to manipulate you. And here I think is where like maybe like prediction market or like some other economic mechanism that we built could be like of use. So yeah, this was just like a thought experiment, but I feel that like we are almost at the brink where like networks like this could be built. Actually, everything here can be built with the technology we have today. We just need to find like the right application. And I feel that like with the state of autonomous AI today, like we are probably almost there. So yeah, these are just my thoughts. And here is my handle, and you can check our work at ai.ethereum.foundation.
Thank you. Just in time. Marco, are you here?